Do you remember the dropper? This map where you would jump from up high and try to land on water avoiding the obstacles. Well, that has inspired a common multiplayer game idea where you jump into a pond of water, and as long as you don't miss, you place a block there and continue to the next round. At first everything is water, but as the game progresses, more and more spots are covered, making it harder and harder. Well, I built it with redstone. It all started with this video right here. Cubic Meter got one of these as a Christmas gift made by Unity, but it's quite bulky. I saw it and thought, surely there's a better way of doing this, right? So I tried it and oh boy did I underestimate the problem. To show you what I mean, look at this design of display. This is a common approach to displays where you select the row and the columns separately, and the pixel you select brightens up. It is very thin because it uses an AND gate at each pixel to display only when its row and its column are selected. So you don't need an individual wire for each pixel, but only one per row and column. So I thought there's surely a way of making this 1 pixel wide instead of 2 by 2 and also horizontal, right? Instead of what Unity does, which is basically have 1 wire per block, in which case it makes sense that it's gonna be big and bulky. So I thought I might do that, but it was hard. It took me like 2 weeks just to come up with a system that would work here. To send a signal to one column, you can simply use rails and observers. But then, how do you select the row? There is no space to put any rails here. Every pixel is basically one-dimensional, so anything that you place will stand in the way between rails and the pistons. The big breakthrough came when I realized that whatever you place, you can push with pistons to interact with, and this led to some solutions. If you use, for example, observers, which was kind of my first attempt, you can trigger them by moving them or by triggering the thing below, or indeed both at the same time. This means that you could send a signal to a row and a column and have them all trigger just once, one of them by shifting and the other one by sending this signal, effectively performing an OR gate. Now all of the blocks are going to come out. But we don't really need an OR gate, we need an AND gate. However, if you're a bit into computer science, you will know that there is a neat connection between the two. You can get from one to the other by flipping. And so I created this version that works, but it moves more blocks than necessary in the process, breaking some water sources, which we don't want. Fortunately, we can do better. If instead of moving the observers, you move the pistons themselves, you get something much nicer. You see, you can't trigger pistons while they're moving, because while they are moving, they're not a block, they're an entity. So what we can do is move every other row of pistons and time the column correctly so that it triggers the one piston that is not moving while the rest are. This part, by the way, doesn't work with copper bulbs as is because of the block update order. Basically, pistons update much later than observers, and that's good in this case. If you don't know what it means, don't worry about it. Then the rest was just figuring out where you landed, for which I'm using skulk sensors, just as Unity did, since they output a signal telling you how far the sound came from, where 15 means next to it and 1 is very far away. But importantly, every block that you move changes the signal strength by 1, so we can use that to be very precise on where you landed. Then we use a red coder, which decodes that into a block position. For that I'm using this stateless design by Andrew Tech, which is very thin, very nice. I'll link it in the description where he explains how he came up with that. And that's basically it. The rest was just debugging, improving things, making it more compact, and so on. Now I'll show you how to build it if you want to have it on your server. In the description you'll also find a link to a schematic and a world download, which I recommend instead of the tutorial if you can use Schematic. This is because if I ever update the design or because of a Minecraft update it stops working and I have to make a correction or something, then it's gonna be there. It's gonna be already up to date there. Also check the description because if I do change something I'm gonna put it there so that then you can know about it. And finally, if you like the explanation, please do let me know in the comments, as well as any constructive feedback because I'm trying to improve. So, without further ado, let's start with a tutorial. To start with the tutorial, let me show you how to use it. First, you will want a tower, and for that I've just gone ahead and built something real easy, real simple. This is made with redstone. If you want to use the same design, I hope you can copy it just by looking at it. The part below the node block is a bit different. You have this dropper here with literally anything inside and a compositor in front. This has to be something non-sticky, but you know the deal. So what this one does is if you go here and press this button, you get launched up and then you can jump, but not before turning it on. To turn it on, it's as easy as coming here and then flicking this lever off, which is going to turn on the lamp. After each jump, the lamp turns off again for some seconds, as to give you enough time to leave the area without activating everything in the middle. And then to reset it, you can go ahead and turn it off and then just break the blocks and put them down again. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an automatic system, which the one from Unity did, but with this approach it's not really possible. These are the materials that we're gonna need. We need at least 7 stacks of blocks, and these blocks doesn't really matter what they are as long as they're conductive. If you don't know what that means, you can try a block being conductive by just placing it down, placing a lever next to it, and then something on top, for example a lamp, which we're gonna use anyways. And then if you flick the lever and the lamp turns on, then you're good to go. You can use that block. If you use something where that doesn't happen, like glass, then it's not good, and then you will have to replace it. 4 stacks and a half of observers. You need water, but with 2 water buckets is enough. Actually, we need 3 because one of them is going to be inside of a dispenser. And I'm gonna show you how you can fill the whole thing just using 2 buckets. For the green carpet and green wool, you can use any type of wool, any color of wool, but it does have to be wool. Activator rails can also be powered rails if you have more gold than iron. The block of resin, if you don't have block of resin, that's alright. You just need something that is easily mineable, preferably not with a pickaxe. So something like mud, which would still look good, or dirt, which you can easily mine, insta-mine with a shovel. The deep slate brick stairs have to be stairs, but it doesn't matter which type. The copper bulb has to be a copper bulb, but it doesn't matter which stage or whether it's waxed or not. The barrels we're gonna fill with items, up to 2 items, so we're gonna need some unstackables for that, specifically 79 unstackables, and for that I recommend shears because you can craft on the go. In that case you will only need 2 stacks and 30 iron ingots. And finally, the spruce leaves can also be any other type of leaf. To start, we can go ahead and reserve a space like this of 20 by 20, and you're just gonna dig it. This is up to here and then up to here. Again, this is 20 blocks by 20, and you're gonna start by doing something like this. Now we have to decide where we want the lamp to be, and in this case I'm gonna do it exactly like it's on the other side. So the lamp is gonna be on this corner, and once you have that decided, you're gonna come to the corner to the right, and you're gonna start mining out up to this point. So we're gonna leave those to one line there, and then we're gonna mine the rest as to here, more or less. So we're gonna have it like that, little corner, little brim there. Then we're gonna continue digging further down twice, so 1, 2, and now you want to come to this corner again, and you're gonna count 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th block you're gonna dig out, and then you're gonna continue digging this whole region another one down, so you're gonna leave this part as a step. At the end it's gonna look something like this, where on the deepest part you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks deep, and then we're good to go. Now you will want to come to this side, to this corner, and then you're gonna want to break 11 blocks just like this up to this point, this one, yeah. Then you're gonna grab your observers, come to this side, and then you will want to place it next to this block facing up, and then you're gonna continue just like this and fill the whole thing with observers. So you're gonna grab your node blocks, and then you're gonna place them just like this next to the observers. Then you're gonna grab some observers, and for this make sure that the block behind the observers is conductive. If it's like air or something, it's not gonna work. Then you will want to place your observers facing down onto the node blocks so that they're observing the node blocks. Now you can grab some stone bricks, and you're gonna fill this part with them so that the observers are powering them, and next to them you're gonna place some walls. These walls are gonna be making the observers trigger, but nothing to worry there. Next to them we're gonna place some pistons just like this in a line up the way to there. And on top of them, you will want to place some stone bricks, filling it all the way to there. We're going to continue with this part later. For that, we're going to come to this side, and then this block right here, which is in line with this line next to the observers and also second to the wall, you're going to break, and then you're going to continue again 11 blocks, just like this, and you're going to fill it using droppers. Doesn't matter where they're facing to. And then you're going to break the next 3 blocks and all the way up to the droppers, just like this. You're gonna make sure that the next blocks are conductive. If they're not, you also want to remove them and replace them. Then you're gonna grab your observers and you're gonna place them facing into the droppers, just like that, and fill this whole thing with observers, so there are 3 observers. Then you'll want to grab some rails, and we're gonna place most of the rails now here. And to do that, we're gonna start not on this block, but on the next one here, next to this observer. And then you're gonna continue placing a line of rails up to this point. Once you're there, you're gonna make another one, and we want 11 of these, but here's a little tip. If you were to place the first one here, this would happen, and we don't want that. So instead, you can start by placing it on the second one, and only then place this one, and then you can continue, just like this, until this point. Then you place the second one, the tip one, and then you continue all the way up to there. Once you finish with the rails, we're gonna come here, and on top of this droppers, we're gonna place a block plus another one on this side. Then you can continue placing on top of these droppers some more blocks, and next to them we're also gonna place some blocks. But before that, you want to come here, and then this one little block that is next to it, you want to remove, and you will want to replace it with a trapdoor. In front of this trapdoor should be a block that is also conductive. In this case, stone is conductive, so I'm gonna leave it. And in front of it, you're gonna place an observer facing into something, and that something is going to be a node block. In front of the node block, you're gonna place yet another block, and in front of that block, you're gonna place an observer. So this observer is powering this node block, which is powering the trapdoor over there. In front of it, you're going to want to place your leaves with a dispenser feeding into the leaves, and in the dispenser you're going to put a water bucket inside. Doesn't matter in which slot. And we're going to leave this here for a second. Before that, we can come back and place an observer facing the trapdoor. Now we're going to place a block next to it here, and then 6 more on this side, so 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to come back here and place a block on top, and rails, activator rails all the way to here on top of these blocks. Now we're going to use this block to place an observer facing up, and then we're going to come to the side, and then we're going to continue doing that, placing all these observers facing up. And then on top of the observers, you're going to place some redstone dust, and you're going to hear things firing. That's not a problem. And before continuing with this part, we want to come back here, and we're going to place a redstone dust here with a repeater to 4 ticks in front of it. That is going to feed into some dust here and here. And now we're going to place a pulse extender with 2 comparators next to it like this, and then 2 more like that, facing into each other. We're going to place a block here, and then a redstone dust, and this is going to be a little pulse extender. This is a timer that lets you leave the pond without activating everything in the middle. At least one of them we have to. But before we leave, you will have to remove this block down here, replace it with a slab, and then place that redstone dust back, because we don't want this redstone to activate this dispenser. But if you know about redstone, you'll know that it is actually still powering it thanks to quasi-connectivity. So what we're going to do is place this comparator here, which is going to feed into that dispenser, again because of QC. And then you're going to place a block here with a button. And that button is not meant to be pressed. You should realistically never really press it. It won't mess up anything, but it's not like there's no reason to. It's just to redirect this so it's not facing into the dispenser. And that way you have 2 lines, one of them going down below, and that's why we're using some weird redstone, so that it doesn't interfere with the rest. And then the other one, which is just a pulse extender. Then you're going to come back to the comparator, and you're going to place a block. And then behind the block, you want to place a repeater up with 2 ticks with a block behind it. Behind that repeater, you're going to place blocks up to this point where we didn't dig up. And then on the very wall, you're going to place a block. You're going to grab your rails, and you're going to place a rail on top of it. You're going to continue this up to this point where this corner exists. You're going to place an observer to continue that line, and then you're going to continue placing some more rails up to here, leaving 2 places. For one of them, you're going to place an observer again. So to continue it, then behind it you will want to place a redstone dust and then a node block. This way the observer is triggering the node block but also the repeater behind. And now you're going to come next to this repeater again, you're going to break this block as well as this one, and then you will want to continue this line breaking up to this point, at which you're going to grab your droppers again and you're going to make another line of 11 droppers just like that. On top of them, you're going to place some more blocks, continuing this line again up to this wall. And then next to it, you're going to break this block and you're going to replace it with a piston. Then you're going to break the blocks next to the droppers, all the 11, and you're going to replace them with an observer just like this. Now you're going to grab a block, you're going to place it there, and then you're going to come here and you're going to place an observer next to it just like that, and then you're going to continue this line to the end. And now next to it you're going to place another observer facing up just like that on top of that comparator. And this is another trick that I'm using. If you power a comparator using an observer, it doesn't actually do anything, it doesn't go through because the comparator needs a longer pulse. So this way I'm dividing 2 different lines going through the same block. Pretty cool, huh? Now you'll want to grab some observers and place them facing down into those observers, and you're going to continue placing them like this up to this point. You're going to grab some blocks and you're going to place them on top of them just like this. And on top of them you're going to place some node blocks so that they can be later observed. But before doing that, you're going to grab some redstone dust and you're going to place it all the way on top of these observers just like this, and that is going to happen, no worries about that. That is actually intentional. Then you're going to come to here and you're going to break this one line, which we don't want to be connected, using one block like this. And then on top of this node block, you're going to grab a observer and going to place it there. Then on the tail of the observer, you're going to go ahead and place one of the copper bulbs. Now you're going to jump here, and next to these node blocks, you're going to place some observers just like this, so that they're observing the node blocks. Then on the end, you're going to place some blocks so that they are powered by the observers. And under those blocks, you're going to place some more blocks with a space in the middle so that we can place some redstone dust just like this. And then next to it, we're going to place some node blocks that are going to be powered by these redstone. On this side, this piece of redstone is going to be triggering this node block, which we don't want. So to redirect it, we're going to use the same method and put a stone button there. You're going to grab some observers and place them facing down onto those node blocks just like this. And then on top of them, you're going to place some pistons. Then you want to come here and place one observer facing up next to that observer just like that. And then you're going to grab some more blocks, place one here, and then place 4 like this on this side. Then on top of that observer, you're going to place a comparator, you're going to place a bulb, and this bulb has to be turned on, so you're going to activate it somehow using a lever here. And funnily enough, this copper bulb doesn't ever change state, it's just there to give power to this comparator of 15 without affecting this line next to it. Now you'll want to place one piece of redstone dust there, then one here, then you're going to grab a comparator and you're going to place it like this in subtract mode. You're going to place another one next to it like this, so it's feeding into the side of this comparator. So we have 2 comparators that are basically canceling this one in different moments. Then you're going to grab a barrel and you're going to place it back to it, and you're going to fill it with shears up to 1. And then in front of it, you're going to place 1 block. Now you're going to grab a redstone torch and you're going to place it there with a block on top. There you're going to place a block next to it so that it's in the back of this comparator. You're going to fill this one row with blocks. Then you're going to place one there. Here you're going to place not a block but a slab, and then you're going to place a block next to it so that it ends up looking like an Among Us, I guess. Then you're going to grab a comparator and you're going to place it like this with a block behind it. Then we're going to place a piece of dust in front of it with a block in front, but before that we're going to go ahead and place a torch underneath it so that it is powering the block. Then we're going to grab a repeater and we're going to place it here, reading from this dust. Then we're going to make a little thing that looks a lot like something that we already know. So 2 comparators like this. This one is in subtract mode. Then you're going to grab a target block, place it here, and a block here, and you're going to place redstone dust here. And this looks awfully a lot like a pulse extender, but this is not a pulse extender because it doesn't decay. This is a memory. This is going to hold which one is the biggest number that it receives until we don't need it anymore. Now you're going to grab one block, you're going to place it here, and then you're going to place a button, because on top of this you're going to place a block later, and we don't want this one to be triggering that node block there. So button it is. And now what we're gonna do is come and start on this very edge here. You're gonna break this block temporarily. You're gonna grab a comparator, an observer, and you're gonna place it up there, looking into that. Then you can fill this block if you want. You're gonna grab an observer facing into that one observer, and then on top of the first observer you're gonna place a node block, and then another observer facing that one down there, and then on the tail of the observer you're gonna place a piston. On this one other space you're gonna place an observer, and you're gonna grab some blocks, and you're gonna place 10 blocks just like this up to this point. Then you're gonna grab some rails, and you're gonna come to this side, and you're gonna place them just like this, leaving exactly 3 blocks in space, because those are going to be some observers facing into those rails. And behind it we're gonna place another observer also looking into that rail with a block behind it. You're now gonna grab a redstone dust and some repeaters. Are gonna place 3 repeaters like that, each one 2 4 ticks. And now we're gonna place a pulse extender by placing 2 here, and then 2 comparators next to it with a block here, another piece of redstone dust there with 2 more comparators. Now you're gonna grab a torch, you're gonna place it here with a block on top, and then another torch there. And before continuing with this, we want to come here and place 1 block there with a node block underneath, then an observer looking into that node block, and then on top of the observer you're going to place a repeater to 2 ticks. On the tail of the observer you're going to place a repeater, and then you're going to dig this 2 blocks in front, and you're going to replace them with a dropper and then an observer next to it. On top of it you're going to place an observer facing into it. Then you're going to grab a sticky piston, and you're going to place it right here in front of the dropper, and on top of it we're going to place a block. Oh sorry, this repeater is supposed to be 3 ticks. And then in front of it here you're going to place a barrel, and you're going to fill it with items. In this case it's going to be completely full. And then in front of it you're going to place a comparator just like that. So the comparator is reading from the barrel, and when the sticky piston moves the block away it's going to break the connection to the comparator, so it stops reading from it. Now before we continue we're going to come here, we're going to dig this block away so we can step in, and then you can replace it if you so want to. Then you're going to grab an observer, and you're going to observe that observer, and you're going to place 1 2 3 4 5 blocks, and then observers, and then you're going to place 1 block right there, so that those blocks are also triggering this redstone dust here. And now you're going to find a way to leave, because unfortunately we got trapped. Oh no. And I might recommend, for example, you could go to the sides and then break here, and then go just like that by placing blocks. I know it's not ideal, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, but anyways, you're gonna come to the side back again, and now we're gonna continue by placing a block here, 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 and here. And then in this part you're gonna place another barrel, and again we're gonna fill it with shears, but this time up to 14 signal strength, so like everything except 1, so it's not completely full. And then you're gonna grab a comparator, you're gonna place it there, you're gonna place it on subtract mode, and then you're gonna place dust. So now this should be off, so you're subtracting 14 minus 15. Now you're gonna grab observers, you're gonna come here, and then you're gonna observe the comparator from the side, and then you're gonna place another one observing that observer with a block here, so that this observer is feeding into this one dust. Now you're gonna come to this side, you're gonna place 2 blocks just like that. And now we're gonna do another memory by placing 1 more comparator here. You're gonna place then a block here. Oh wait, this is wrong. This should not be a block, but instead a slab. There we go. Now you're gonna place a redstone dust on top with a block behind it. And then on this side, you're gonna place a block with a comparator and then a block in front of it. Now you're gonna place a redstone dust on top. And then on top of here, we will place a wool, but for now, let's just place a comparator here so you don't have to bring the wool yet. This comparator has to be on subtract mode, then we place a block on top of it. And this is a memory because the comparator is feeding into this dust into this comparator into this dust, and so on. And to erase the memory, we're going to place a redstone dust here so that this one piece of redstone is subtracting 15 of this. Then you're going to come to this side over here. You're going to place an observer facing into that rail with a copper bulb behind it on its tail. You're going to place on 2 blocks right here with a comparator next to it like that, and then a block on top. So this block is being fed by this torch and also by this comparator. Then in front of the comparator, you're going to place a repeater with a block in front. And then on this side, you're going to place a block and then a dust that is going to be again subtracting from that comparator. So it has 2 ways of erasing memory. Next to it, you're going to place a block, and then next to that block, you're going to place 2 more like this with a repeater, 2 vortex, and a dust behind it. And then on this little gap that is here, you're going to place another block, a repeater facing in that direction, up to again 2 vortex. And then on top of this dust that is not being powered by anything, you're going to want to place a block full on top, and then you're going to place a lever, and that lever is going to be on, and this is going to be turning off and everything. So now this copper bulb should be off. It also did turn off this bulb, so we're gonna head and turn it on again. Now the system is off, but it's a bit hard to see, so we're gonna grab a torch, we're gonna place it here, and then you're gonna grab your lamp and you're gonna place it on top of it. And this lamp is signalizing that it is off, as I showed you before. We are almost done. Now we're gonna come to this side and we're gonna place a block here, here, and here as to fill that one complete line. Then you're gonna come here and also continue this, then up to this point, leaving 1 gap. You're going to remove this 1 block and you're going to place a slab instead, because on top of it is going to be some piece of dust and we don't want it to interact with these rails. Then you're going to put a comparator with 1 space in between, then you're going to place another dust and another comparator again with 1 space in between. And then we're going to leave this for a second because later is where the skull sensor is going to be. And before that, we want to complete the rest. Now you're going to come here and up to this side. And all we want to do is grab an observer, place it here with a block next to it and 1 here in diagonals so that we can read that from that block using a repeater. Then we're going to place an observer that is observing that repeater, and then we're going to place a piston just like that is being powered by that observer. And then you're going to place a temporary block. You're going to grab an observer and you're going to place it facing that temporary block. You're going to remove it and all the droppers should fire, but that's a good thing actually. Then you're going to grab another observer, you're going to come to the tail of the rails, you're going to place it, and then you're going to place a block, you're going to place another one next to it, and then on top of it you're going to place a copper bulb. That should be on right now, so we're going to go ahead and turn it on, and then you're going to put a comparator right here. And now before continuing and getting our green wool, we're gonna do the center. So for that, you're gonna grab your observers, you're gonna come to the rails, and then you're gonna place some observers just like this, filling the whole thing, and it should end up looking something like this. Then on top of it, you're gonna fill it yet again, but with pistons this time. And then on top of it, we are going to place the resin later, but for now, because it's probably going to misfire at some point, we're gonna leave it. But what we do want to do is seal everything next to it so that the water doesn't escape and break everything. So we're gonna come here and place a block right there with a stone wall here. That's gonna happen. You're not going to listen to the droppers this time, which is a good thing. You're gonna then place some blocks right here up to this point, filling the whole thing. Then you're gonna grab a temporary block, you're gonna place it there with a block next to it, you're gonna remove it, and now you're gonna continue placing blocks through this frame all the way to here. You should only see these blocks once you are resetting the game, so they can be whatever. Then you're gonna continue just like this. Whoop. Up to this point, but the last one block is not going to be a normal block, but it's going to be a sticky piston. Then next to it you're going to place a piston, and now I think it's a good moment to go ahead and grab your wool, all the wool that you're going to use. You're going to place one here with a lamp here. You're going to grab an observer and you're going to observe that lamp, which is going to be a bit hard unless you come to this side and then from here you place it. Nope, again not. From here then. Then behind it, you're going to place a node block that is going to be triggered by this observer. You're going to come here and then place another observer facing into that node block and another one looking into that observer. This is creating a little longer poles because we didn't have the space. Then you're going to place a copper bulb, which is going to be powered by that observer. Then you're going to place some observers observing that copper bulb and then bringing the whole thing up to this point. Then you're going to come back down here and you're going to place a sticky piston, just like that. And that is going to trigger again this thing, but again, you won't hear the droppers. Now you're going to grab your blocks and then you're going to fill this part right here. I don't actually remember why these blocks are here, but they are. Now we're going to continue by coming to this side. You're going to place a comparator there with a piece of dust behind it. Then you're going to place a block. And now we're going to be alternating between block and redstone component. And that component is going to be first a comparator, again block, dust, block, comparator, block, dust, and a block. So you're gonna get this here. And now we're gonna come to this side and we're gonna do something similar. We're gonna place first a block there, there, and you're gonna end up with something very similar. But we did this beforehand, so you won't have to count this time. And now we're almost done. I think it's a good time to come here and place a slab there. Then on top of this observer, you're gonna place another observer. On top of it, you're gonna place a green wool and then a piston that is next to it so that this observer is powering this piston. Now we will make a little platform for some blocks that we're gonna place here, and for that you're gonna continue filling this side like this, except for this one block, which is gonna be a slab so that this piece of dust doesn't interfere with this one. Then you're gonna continue placing some more blocks next to it. Then we have again a piece of dust, so we're gonna use a stone slab. Then we're gonna continue placing some more blocks, just like that. And then on top of it, you're gonna grab your half of your composters and you're gonna place them on top of it like this, all the way to here. And you're gonna set them to a level of 2. If you use pumpkin pies, then they work every time. If you use something else, then you might have to count the times that it goes up. You're gonna place a comparator and you're gonna do it just like this, so that you're reading off of the composters. Then you're gonna fill this one line with blocks, and these have to be wool blocks. And then next to it, we're gonna place the skulk sensors, but not yet because they're gonna be very noisy. So we're gonna place a block here and another one here, and let's do another one here. And then we're gonna place another block here. And then next to it, we're gonna place some normal blocks so as to encase the skulk sensors. Then next to that, we're gonna place some blocks up to this point, just like on the other side. So now the skulk sensors are very much enclosed, but we don't want to place them right yet. We're gonna come to this other side, and now we're gonna place one there and one here as to make this one little diagonal. Then we're gonna fill this one with two more, and so on. So this full thing is going to be filled with wool. Then you're going to place one there, one here, and then in front of it we're going to place another block of wool. Then we're going to grab our last we're going to grab one other composter. We're going to place it there with a level of 2 yet again. Then we're going to grab a target block, which I removed because I thought I was done with them. You're going to place it in front of the comparator, and then next to it you're going to place a dust. So now this bulb has this comparator reading off of it, which is going to be feeding into this one block. And then next to it we have a comparator which has a wool in front, just like that. And that way this comparator would be, there we go. And that way this comparator is reading off of this one composter normally, but is going to be overwritten by this 15. Then we're going to place a block next to it, then another one. And now we were going to place one there, one here, and one here, as to have this one diagonal here with these 3 blocks in the end. Then we're going to continue filling this one with wool. And with this part, you might notice that actually this whole line is not necessarily at all, and I could have made it smaller, but I didn't want to because this way it's symmetrical. And I preferred it being symmetrical than smaller. Then you're gonna leave this one and put one here and continue it this time up to here. Now we're gonna place our other composters in this line. We're gonna grab your composters and place the next, I think think there are 11 up to this point. Then you're gonna grab some pumpkin pies and you're gonna yet again put them to a level of 2. Then you're gonna grab some blocks and you're gonna place them like this in this side. And this time we don't have to worry about the slabs because there's nothing underneath, so they're not triggering anything else. So you can fill the whole thing just using normal blocks all the way to the other side, so that then later on top we can place some comparators. Now we're gonna come here and place some comparators, indeed reading off those comparators, of those combustors. Then you're gonna grab some more wool and you're gonna place it like this. Yet again, because they're going to be calibrating the skulk sensors in front. Then in front of where the skulk sensors are going to be, we're going to place some more blocks as to encase them so that the water doesn't spill out, because they're going to have some water so that they're silent. Then we're going to grab some more wool and then we're going to fill this whole thing up to this point. So again, to enclose them and enclose this other part. Then we're going to place some more blocks here and then here up to the torch. And then for this part, we're going to place one there and 2 more in that little corner. And now we can finally start placing the calibrated skulk sensors. And to do that, you're going to place them from the side of the comparator, so that when you place them, this one line, this one side where you calibrate them is looking into you, so that they are indeed calibrated by the skulk sensors. And then you're going to continue filling this one line. You're gonna want to do it from this other side as well. And now that is going to be a bit noisy, but we're gonna fill it with water later. Before that, we're gonna come here and finally put the resin on top of this pistons. Now you're gonna grab your deep slate brick stairs and you're gonna fill the whole frame using them, just like that. Except for this one corner, because this corner is supposed to be a skulk sensor. And you're gonna place it from this side so that the line, this calibration line is next to the comparator, so it's being fed by the comparator. Now you're gonna go ahead and grab your 2 buckets of water, and I'm gonna show you how you can use only 2 buckets of water to fill the whole thing in survival. So you're gonna place one here, or in one corner, you're gonna place another one on the other corner, and because 2 sources are feeding into the same source, they're gonna fill it with water as well as here. So this one piece is a water source, so you can grab more water from it. That was not intentional. Now you're gonna skip 1 block and you're gonna place another one here. And now you're gonna grab from that one. Here is going to appear another source of water, so we can grab water from there, and you can go ahead and place this one, come back, grab it, there, and there, just like that. And then we're gonna continue with the other side just as well. So another one here, then we skip this one, we place something here, and then you do it as well. And that way you're gonna fill the whole thing just using 2 buckets of water. And finally just place it in one of the other stairs. Oh, the corner as well. And now the whole thing should be full with water. Now you can use that water to put water into the skulk sensors, just like that. So you can grab it from there and place it on all the skulk sensors. Unfortunately, we can't skip one this time, because when you do that, oh no, that does work. Wait, I think it only works when you have a block behind. Oh yeah, right. So if the skulk sensor has a block beneath, then you can skip it and it's gonna be full. But if it doesn't, like, let's say I put it here and then I put it here, then it doesn't fill automatically. There we go. Yeah, fun things. Me learning things right now. Now it should work, but we're gonna make it a bit more pretty. First by placing some carpets. So for that you're gonna come and first of all fill the whole frame with it, because we don't want people to be falling into our stairs and saving themselves, but falling into the stairs, because that's gonna be a bit hard for the system to notice that they are indeed on the frame and should be accounted for. So we're gonna do that. Then let's start by placing some here on top of this bulb so we don't see them. We're gonna place it here, we're gonna place it there, and to make it a bit more symmetrical and pretty, we're gonna place one there, here, and here on top of it. One here, and there you go. For this side, I'm gonna fill it with some grass blocks. If you have sand, then you just place something there, and it shouldn't break anything. Then we're gonna come to this side. Again, I'm gonna place some dirt blocks. Then on this side, we're gonna place some carpets as well, as to cover that whole thing, and then you just stack it, you just repeat it up to here. And let's do one more again, because pretty. I'm gonna cover this one line here, and then I'm going to continue that whole thing up to that point over there. And that is it. Let me then cover this using some more blocks. If you have sand, you can place one here and one here, and then you can place the sand directly on top of the dust and it won't fall. And the same thing for the others. Then on this side, I can fill those blocks again. You're gonna place one here. If you have sand, then again, block here. If you have sand, again here. Like, it doesn't break anything. Every time you can just place something to support the sand. And there we go. The next step is to turn it on and check whether it indeed works, and it should. There is a possibility that it doesn't work the first time, but then you can just try it again, and then it should work in the second time. I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope it was clear and understandable. I hope you enjoy it. I hope also you played this with your friends. If you have any feedback, again, just leave it down below. If it was confusing or something I over-explained or under-explained, you can also tell me there. So I'm going to be reading it. Yet again, check the description in case I change something for the future. Also, I hope I didn't come off as being a little snarly and saying like, oh yeah, the other design was bad and mine is good. That's not the case. That's definitely not the case. But instead, I just thought I might do it not better, but smaller by changing the approach. And so I give it a go and it happened, and I'm very proud of it, which is why I'm showing it to. But not because Unity did a bad job or something like that. Also, Xerox apparently helped with it. Apparently they were both in the video, they say. And the idea is very cool. They say they based it on how touch displays work, and it kind of makes sense, and also I can't see how. So I think it's a pretty good design. I didn't want to throw garbage on them or something like that. But yeah, also if you like the editing on this video, I'm very proud of the first parts. Please do let me know. And that's it. I hope you have a pleasant evening, and goodbye. Love you.